This tutorial is going to show you how to take images and manipulate them so it looks like that they are flying through the air and landing in a snack on a table. This is what it's going to look like at the end. All right, so how do we do that? Let's delete all this and let's start fresh. We have a picture of a table that we're just going to drop on in here, and we're going to make it a little longer than we think we need it. You'll notice that it's small in the frame. The way we fix that is that we right click on the block and we go to scale to frame size, and voila, there it is. Okay, we've talked before about how things are layered on top of each other so that whatever's on top covers whatever's on the bottom, and that is going to work in our favor today. We're going to take our first image and we are going to put it right here, and it is an image of some flowers. So we are going to have that fly in and then drop down onto the table. Knowing what we know about keyframes, we are going to make sure that our image that we want to manipulate is selected, and we are going to click on the stopwatch for position, scale, and rotation. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to make the changes that we want to on it. And so we're going to shrink it down. We are going to rotate it just a little bit so it has some flying in motion. And then we are going to double click it and move it off frame. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move forward a couple of seconds, 10 seconds, and we are going to reset all those keyframes so that it is its original size. And we can watch that. And there it is. Okay. So next thing we want to do is we want to, after it is in the frame for a moment, we want to drop it on the table. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we set ourselves new keyframes here, here, and here for position, scale, and rotation, so that those are locked in there. And we are going to create a new effect. We are going to go to the effects panel. We're going to look for 3D, and we're going to take the basic 3D panel and we are going to drop it right onto our image block. And we're going to see that we have new parameters here: swivel, tilt, and distance to image. So we are going to use those next. And so we are going to set keyframes for swivel, tilt, and distance to image. And what we're going to do is we're going to learn how we use those three parameters. So let's start with distance to image. Well, actually, let's move forward first to where we want our whole entire thing to end. And let us start with distance to image. Distance to image works a little like scale in that it will shrink it, but it shrinks it in a different way. So it moves it backwards in 3D space rather than just shrinks it. And that's going to be important for some of the other parameters that we want to use. The tilt parameter is going to allow us to tilt it back. And then the swivel parameter is going to allow us to tilt it on its side. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get the angle to match the angle of the table here. And so we're going to tilt it back just a little more, maybe swivel it not quite so much, there. And right now it's hovering in space. So what we want to do is we want to move it so it looks like it's on the table itself. There we go. And there we are. We have our first image and it looks like it is lying on the table. So now what we want to do is we want to add another image. But first of all, let's check and see what we've got. Okay, that looks kind of nice. So what we are going to do is we are going to go back to our project. We're going to pick another image and we're going to put it roughly where the last image animation ended. We can always move it if we want to. And what we are going to do is we are going to start with the same parameters, which is position and scale and rotation. Except this time what we are going to do is we are going to have it fly in from the other side, just for a little bit of interest. These parameters don't necessarily matter, just whatever you want. And then we'll move it in a little bit. And we'll reset those parameters. And what we should have now is our second image fly in. So our first image flies in, drops on the table. Our second image flies in, fills the frame. And now what we are going to do is we are going to set up our 3D effects so that it drops on the table. So we are going to go back to effects, drag our basic 3D effect on top, and then we are going to click all of our keyframes that we want to manipulate. If we don't click these 3 keyframes here, then what it's going to do is it's going to transition from this to our final transition entirely through, and that's not what we want. So now we're going to move in a little bit. And again, we are going to make the changes that we're looking for. And maybe this time what we'll do is we'll drop it this way. You'll notice that our first image has disappeared, and that's because our image ran out. So if we want to, we can extend that. So now it is there on the table. And let's place the second image. Whoops. Make sure you have the correct block selected. And let's place our second image down on the table as well. And sometimes it takes a little playing around to get the angle right. I don't know that it's important that it's perfect. So when you get it to where you want it to be, you can just leave it there and we can check the whole thing again. I don't know if you noticed, but our first image was kind of sliding around on the table a little bit. And that's because of the way that it was keyframed. We can take a look at why that is happening. So we want it to stop there. And for some reason, it is sliding around. I think it might have to do with that keyframe. I'm going to delete that keyframe and see what happens here. That was it. So a rogue keyframe caused that one to look like it was sliding around. So I'm glad we were able to fix that. And what we're going to do is we are going to drop in a third photo, and this will be our last one. Put it right about there. Make sure that we have that one selected. Again, we're going to want the position and the scale and the rotation. We're going to have it fly in first. So let's shrink it down and let's have it come right down from the top. And we can then move it in and reset our keyframes. Let's shrink the scale down just a touch. There. That'll be good. And we should see it do the same thing, fly in, fill the frame, and then after a couple of frames more, we are going to add in our 3D effect. Take that, drag it there. And again, you're going to notice that we are running out of images to be underneath. So we're going to actually extend that image, this image, and the image of our table so that our picture has something to land on. Okay, let's start by creating keyframes for all of these different things that we're going to be doing. Move in and then So we're placing these down. And there you have it. We play it again. Images dropping onto a table. And if you want them so that they just pop up on the table, you don't put any of the effects on them, just the 3D effect, and you change all the different parameters without any keyframes. And that's it.